Никто не хочет ядерной войны, мы это многократно говорили, но, смею вас заверить, у нас есть вооружения, которые будут иметь очень серьезные последствия для хозяев украинского режима, и эти вооружения имеются, и они в состоянии полной боевой готовности.
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, September the 21st. Let's talk about some news, and let's talk about Elensky's victory plan. We are starting to get some good indications as to what Elensky's victory plan is going to be, what he is going to present to Professor Biden when he goes to the United States next week, and what he is also going to present to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Allegedly, Elensky, when he goes to the United States for the UN General Assembly meeting, where he will be speaking to the UN Security Council, those are the reports that we're getting, he is also going to present his victory plan to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And Bloomberg is reporting that Elensky's victory plan is, drum roll, the victory plan is Ukraine getting into NATO. That's the victory plan. Of course, money, of course, weapons, of course, long-range missile strikes into pre-2014 Russia. But the foundation of the victory plan, according to Bloomberg, is that Elensky convinces Biden to admit Ukraine into NATO. Zelensky to push U.S. for NATO invite, weapons guarantees. Elensky seeks to get support ahead of U.S. elections. Plan includes advanced weapons, economic and security deals. Weapons, money, NATO. The Kiev Independent, they are also reporting that the plan consists of getting into the European Union as well. Now that I agree with. Let's fast track Ukraine into the European Union. The quicker Ukraine gets into the European Union, the quicker the European Union crumbles. But getting into NATO, oh boy, that's his victory plan. Not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does happen, well, that's the end of all of us, isn't it? Because the way Elensky is thinking about this is that Ukraine gets into NATO, gets fast-tracked into NATO by December, and it starts launching long-range missile strikes with the help of the United States, of course, ATACMS and Storm Shadow missiles. And it launches these missile strikes into Russian territory. And because Ukraine is a NATO member, if Russia dare strike back at Ukraine, then we have an Article 5 situation. If Russia does not strike back at Ukraine out of fear of striking at a new NATO member, well, then Putin is going to have to capitulate. This is the brilliant mastermind plan of Elensky, the clown. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And so if it doesn't happen, if he goes to the United States and he gets rejected, and with Biden, you never know. With Biden and Blinken, I say it's not going to happen. 95% chance they're going to say hell no. But with Professor Biden and Blinken by his side, you never know. But let's just say it doesn't happen. Then Elensky can go back to Kiev. Maybe go back to Kiev. Maybe he doesn't go back to Kiev. I don't know. But let's just say he goes back to Kiev. And as Alexander pointed out in his video update yesterday, he goes back to Kiev and he says, well, I tried. My plan was to get into NATO. The collective West rejected us again. They've been constantly holding us back and holding us down from achieving victory, and so we're going to have to talk to the Russians. That could be his plan B or plan C or whatever you want to call it. But let's say that 5% happens, and Professor Biden and Blinken, they say, yes, you're getting it to NATO. Then what happens? Long-range missiles into Russia. You actually think, Elensky, you actually think that Russia's not going to respond? Of course they're going to respond. They're not going to be afraid of NATO. They've already demilitarized half of NATO. But Russia responds. Then what? Elensky says Article 5? Is that what he says? This is an Article 5 moment? And then we're going to see NATO countries agree to this? They're going to say, okay, Article 5. Are you going to see Greece and Turkey and Hungary, Germany? Olaf Scholz has once again said he's not going to send Taurus missiles to Ukraine. He said it now for the third or fourth time. He said it just yesterday. No Taurus missiles to Ukraine. Not only that, Olaf Scholz said that it's time to find an off-ramp. He says we need to find a way out of Ukraine. We need to wind it down. But what does Zelensky think that all of these NATO member states are going to say, okay, let's go to war with Russia? Does Zelensky expect that the United States is going to say, yeah, let's go to nuclear war with Russia? Or if they don't go to nuclear war, does Zelensky expect the United States to say, okay, let's send 100,000 or 200,000 U.S. soldiers to Ukraine, and all of this happens like overnight? Come on, bro. Come on, man in the green T-shirt. Come on, servant of the people, sitcom actor, and his entertainment lawyer Yermak, coming up with ideas like this. This is the victory plan, which leads me to believe that there was no victory plan. He's making everything up as it goes along. The initial plan was go into Kursk, get the nuclear power plant, the Kursk nuclear power plant, put it under artillery fire, or maybe even capture it. I don't know, but put the Kursk nuclear power plant in jeopardy, and then try to exert something from Russia, some leverage on Russia. Now that plan, okay, that makes some sort of sense, I guess. It's a crazy plan, but I mean, you can see it, right? That you go into Kursk and you try to capture the nuclear power plant or put it under artillery fire, and then you tell Putin and Russia, let's talk about the conflict, let's negotiate. I don't know. But once that failed, he's been making all this up. Once that failed, he sat down with Yermak and his production staff, his script writers, and they said, oh crap, what do we do? And then someone at the round table, one of his script writers, maybe even his entertainment lawyer Yermak, said, I've got an idea. Let's talk about a victory plan. Or maybe Podolyak. Hey, Podolyak, what do we do now? We did not get Kursk plant. Mr. President, I've got an idea. Let's talk about a victory plan. A victory plan, I like it. It sounds good. This be good movie, Victory Plan, starring Elensky. And Podolyak, too. You can also star in movie, Podolyak. You be big star in Hollywood. I mean, they're making this up. And so their victory plan is NATO. That's the victory plan. Let us into NATO. And the EU, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with it at all. This is from the Kiev Independent. A source close to Elensky told the Kiev Independent that the victory plan aims to create such conditions and such an atmosphere that Russia will no longer be able to ignore the peace formula and the peace summit. Elensky announced his team was preparing the victory plan as Ukraine gained momentum following its incursion into Russia's Kursk Oblast, which has widely been considered a successful operation that exposed Russia's inability to defend its own territory and challenged its so-called red lines. That's how you know they had no victory plan. This is being made up as they go along. This is all being made up. This paragraph where it talks about Ukraine's momentum in Kursk. The victory plan was being prepared. It was being prepared as Ukraine gained momentum in Kursk. And it's been seen as a successful operation. That's how you know this is all BS. Even Zelensky said that the Kursk operation is a debacle. Elensky told CNN that the plan covers issues such as security, Ukraine's geopolitical position, very strong defense aid, and economic assistance. In a September 16th address, Elensky said that curators had been assigned to each area, emphasizing that nothing is impossible in the plan. They even lifted Adidas' marketing tagline. Wasn't it Adidas that said at one point in time their marketing was "nothing is impossible" or "impossible is nothing"? I remember that. That was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Nothing is impossible. They even came up with that, right? Victory plan. Nothing is impossible. It's nonsense, man. If this actually went through, if all of this was actually approved, and Russia hit Ukraine after Ukraine launches long-range missiles into Russia, Russia hits Ukraine, and NATO actually were to get involved, it'd be over for all of us. It'd be over. Game over, man. Game over, right? Like the world is ready to go into nuclear war for the clown in a green T-shirt. Is that the way the world is going to end, according to Elensky? That's how it's going to end, or are they actually believing the BS that Putin is bluffing about his red lines? They actually believe that. They actually believe that Putin is going to cower to the mighty NATO, of which half of NATO has already been completely demilitarized. Even CNN is reporting that the United States, they don't have any weapons to send to Ukraine. They're going to actually approve a weapons package, a $350 million or $400 million weapons package. Still not the billions weapons packages that they used to be approving a year or two ago, but they're going to approve $400 million in weapons, and the weapons aren't going to be delivered right away. From what I read, they're going to be delivered sometime in the future. What they are going to deliver is a type of glide bomb for the F-16, a bomb that has a range of 70 kilometers. U.S. may send Ukraine medium-range missiles for F-16s, Politico reports. The U.S. is expected to announce a $375 million military assistance package for Kiev next week. Word is reported earlier on September 20th. The package represents the largest tranche of U.S. military aid for Ukraine since May 2024. A medium-range glide bomb known as the Joint Standoff Weapon, JSOW, might be included in the package, officials told Politico. The missile can cover a distance of over 70 miles. The contents of the package have not been finalized and are subject to change, the official said. So this is going to be announced when Elensky is in New York. This is what the Biden White House is going to give Elensky. It's not going to be any NATO stuff. They're going to give Elensky promises of NATO. Keep on fighting. Keep on fighting. We promise eventually you'll get into NATO. Your path to NATO cannot be stopped. That's what they're going to say. It's inevitable, as Blinken said when he was in Kiev. And they're going to give him $400 million, $350 million in military aid. They're going to give him this type of glide bomb because they don't have much else to give him, which depends on the F-16s getting within a certain distance to launch the bomb, and you just got to imagine that if the F-16s get close enough to Russian positions, well, then the Russians are going to completely shoot down those F-16s. Those F-16s are going to be toast. So this whole thing sounds like complete fiction. Oh boy. So that's the victory plan. And the Times, the UK Times, get this, they're reporting that the UK has entered into a secret deal with Ukraine. Some parts of the U.S. government, at least as I was reading the Times article, I got the impression that some parts of the U.S. government were aware of this deal, and they've entered into a deal to launch Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory, even though the Biden White House told them, the Pentagon specifically told them, don't do it. The Pentagon is against all of this, right? The Pentagon is saying enough. But the Times is reporting that Stalmer and Lamy, some parts of the U.S., I wonder which parts of the U.S. government, maybe the State Department, I don't know, But yeah, secret deal with Ukraine to green light Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory. Now, from what I understand, and I think it was the Times that reported this, the UK cannot launch Storm Shadow missiles without US technology. From what I read from the Times, this was last week. They were saying how because of Russia's electronic jamming and the way satellites work, I forgot what the Times was saying, but they basically said that now they have to depend on the U.S. to provide the targeting, because the U.K. doesn't have the ability anymore to provide targeting. So how exactly are they going to launch Storm Shadow missiles without the United States, without the Pentagon in the know? Doesn't make much sense. But that's what the Times is reporting. That is what they are saying, and they're even saying, one sec, they're even saying that this is going to be a surprise. But they're saying that this is going to be a surprise to Russia, right? The secret deal and the Storm Shadow missiles going into Russian territories is going to catch Russia by surprise, and they're reporting on it. So what kind of surprise are you guys talking about? I wonder if I have it bookmarked. Here we go. Private deal to let Ukraine fire missiles into Russia. Ukraine may be given private dispensation by the UK and the US to fire long-range Storm Shadow missiles into Russia without making it public until the first one is fired. Western diplomats are poised to sign off on the decision, but could hold back from making an official announcement at the UN next week. The Times understands there is wariness about publicizing the move in advance to alert Russia. An agreement could therefore be struck in private to allow Ukraine to fire the British and French-made cruise missiles into Russia with the element of surprise, diplomatic sources said. So the U.S. does know. The U.S. may be in on this secret deal. Maybe the Pentagon is not in on this secret deal, though. Now the Pentagon knows about this secret deal. I don't know, and it's going to be a surprise to Russia, but now all of us know that there could be a secret deal in the making. So what kind of secret surprise is this going to be to Russia? Oh boy. Oh man. So Elensky, he is preparing to fire. The rumor has it, this is coming from Ukraine media, I believe Duran, which is a Ukraine publication, a fairly reliable publication. They are reporting that Elensky is getting ready to fire his defense minister, Umerov, and get this, android AI robot Budanov. That is what is being reported. If he does fire Umerov, this is going to be the second defense minister that he has fired. He fired Reznikov, who became ambassador to the UK. Now he's ambassador to the UK with Zelensky. What happened to Reznikov, man? Whatever happened to that guy? No one talks about him. He was ambassador to the UK. Then Zelensky became ambassador to the UK, and Reznikov just kind of disappeared. So Umerov is going to become ambassador to the UK now? I don't know. Anyway, Umerov, defense minister, may be on the chopping block. And Budanov. Budanov may be gone. That would be something, huh? Budanov fired by Elensky, and the reports are that it's Yermak, the entertainment lawyer, who is orchestrating all of this, because Yermak does not like Budanov, and Yermak wants to consolidate power because he's the man behind the green T-shirt comedian actor. That's what they're reporting, man. That is what they're reporting. I have a feeling that Budanov and Umerov are probably saying, yeah, fire us. Fire us. We need to get out of here before the ship sinks. They're actually kind of lucky, these guys, if they get fired. They get fired, they can take all of their cash and God knows what else they've squirreled away, and they're out. They're out before the whole thing collapses. I don't know, maybe Elensky is doing them a favor. Who knows? Who freaking knows anymore? But He got rid of the foreign minister a couple of weeks ago. He's going to get rid of the defense minister, according to these reports from Ukraine media. He's going to get rid of Budanov. And Budanov was the CIA's guy, right? So I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't know what is going on, but things sound like they're coming to an end. It really does sound like everything is wrapping up in the next few months. That's the picture that we're getting. And because things are wrapping up in the next few months, that is why the European Union is green-lighting a 35 billion euro loan to Ukraine, right? It's time to shovel whatever, whatever money they can put into Ukraine before the whole thing collapses, right? It looks like they're not going to get their hands on the 300 billion in Russian frozen assets, but they're now trying to come up with whatever schemes they can come up with to get loans to Ukraine and take the interest from the 300 billion, which is sitting at Euroclear. Something like 220 billion actually is being held in Brussels at Euroclear. And the interest generated on those frozen assets is anywhere between 1.5 billion to 3 billion. No publication has given an accurate amount for the interest. You get 1.5 billion, you get reports of 1.5 billion, you get reports of 3 billion, 2.5 billion, who knows? Let's just say 1.5 billion to 3 billion is the interest generated from the 200 billion every year sitting in Brussels. And so Ursula, she was in Kiev, and she announced that the European Union is going to be giving Ukraine a loan of 35 billion euros, and the EU is going to put up all of this money. And Ursula's goal is to promise this money to Elensky, and then what she wants to do is she wants to go to the United States, to Canada, to Japan, to South Korea, and say, look, all of us were supposed to give 50 billion to Ukraine, right? And that's been shot down. But she wants to go and say, okay, we were supposed to give 50 billion. You guys didn't want to loan money to Ukraine for obvious reasons. But look, as the European Union, we're giving 35 billion to Ukraine. So why don't you guys in Canada and Japan, South Korea, maybe the United States, why don't you guys put up another 15, 20 billion? Because we're putting in money. So, if we're putting in money, if we're loaning Ukraine money, well then, it's a good investment, right? If the European Union is putting money in Ukraine, it's, you know what it's like? It's you're starting a business. You're starting a business and you're looking for that first seed capital. Because if you get that first seed capital, if you get that first investment, then your goal is to go to other investors and say, well, I need $100,000, and look, I've already found $10,000, so I've already got one investor, so it makes it easier to get the other investors into your business. That's basically Ursula's angle here. So it's 35 billion, and of course, the money is going to be guaranteed by the 1.5 billion to 3 billion in interest from the frozen assets, which you would have to be brain dead stupid to loan Ukraine money and believe that your money is secured by the interest from the Russian frozen assets. Because once Ukraine crumbles and falls apart, you know that Russia is going to take this thing to every single court in the world, and they are going to make the case that not only should they get their 200 or 300 billion in frozen assets paid back to them, but they are going to demand all of the interest that money has generated. And any country that has taken the money from the interest, that has pocketed the interest, well then, you have to pay us back with interest. And if Brussels puts up resistance, then you know what Russia's going to do? They're going to go to other courts in other jurisdictions around the world, and they're going to sink Euroclear. They are going to sink Euroclear, and they're going to make the case for this money to get back to them. And they're going to be successful. You better believe it. And they're going to get their interest that this 200 billion has been generating. They're going to get it back. And so if these investors, which are countries, if they take the interest as being paid back for the money they loaned to Ukraine, they're going to have to pay that money back to Russia sooner or later with interest. You better believe that's what's going to happen. So you have to be freaking stupid to go along with Ursula's plan. Ursula also said, while she was in Kiev, that what the European Union is going to do to address Ukraine's energy problems, the fact that Russia is going to demolish their energy infrastructure, or has the potential this winter to completely destroy Ukraine's energy infrastructure. She said that what the European Union is doing right now is that they are, one second, wait for it, they are putting together, they're dismantling a thermal power plant in, I believe in Lithuania, if I'm not mistaken, either Latvia or Lithuania. They're dismantling a thermal power plant in Lithuania, and they're sending piece by piece to Kiev, and they're going to put it back together again in Kiev, and that's going to solve Ukraine's energy problem. Because if they do manage to do this, to actually disassemble a power plant and then reassemble it, disassemble a power plant in Lithuania, then reassemble it in Ukraine, Russia's not going to hit that power plant that's just been assembled in Ukraine. No, they're not going to hit that power plant. From Lord Bibo, von der Leyen, as we speak, this is a quote from von der Leyen, as we speak, there is a full thermal power plant that is being dismantled in Lithuania and shipped piece by piece to Ukraine with our support, and then rebuilt in Ukraine. End quote. Oh boy, what else does Lord Bibo say here? The problem is not the shortage of power plants. The problem is that missiles fly into them often. So spending months to move and rebuild a power plant in Ukraine just for a missile to hit it a day later is beyond stupid. I can't add anything to that. Oh my God. What a freaking disaster. What a disaster. Oh boy. So what else should we talk about? There's a video floating around of Jake Sullivan. I believe this was another conference that was taking place in Kiev, and he Zoom called into this conference, and Sullivan actually admits that all the Patriot interceptors that were being sent to U.S. allies around the world, Sullivan put a stop to the Patriot interceptors going to allies, and he redirected them back to Ukraine, and they've all been destroyed. An interesting admission from Sullivan, from Big Surge. The idea that America has bottomless resources and that it can indefinitely supply Ukraine without consequences has always been silly. Here's Jake Sullivan admitting that backstopping Ukraine's air defense required redirecting assets from all of America's other theaters. Yeah, he had to redirect everything that was going elsewhere to Ukraine. And what's happened to all those interceptors? They've been destroyed. That was Jake Sullivan. Am I done with Ukraine now? Or do I have anything else to talk about with Ukraine? I don't think so. I think that's the update, everybody. That is what is going on with Project Ukraine. In Russia, they have announced, the Kremlin has announced the destructive countries list. These are the countries that have gone against Russia in the conflict in Ukraine, that have betrayed Russia. These are the countries that are woke. This is the list of woke countries. This is the list of countries that Russia now sees as adversaries. I don't want to say enemies, as adversaries, as countries that have supported Project Ukraine and given weapons and money to Project Ukraine and to Elensky. And if you are a citizen of these countries, the plan that the Kremlin is rolling out, they haven't put out the details yet. They've just put out the country list. But what they're going to be announcing soon is that if you're a resident of these countries, you can apply for, if you're a citizen of these countries, you can apply for a fast-track residency in Russia. You don't have to go through the normal process of of taking the test, the language test, the history test, the legal test, and all of these things. You can just say, you know, I'm a citizen of one of these woke, destructive, adversarial countries on your list. I would like to get residency in Russia and live in Russia because my values don't line up with where I'm living in the collective West. Most of these countries are in the collective West. And can I get a fast track to residency? And so they announced this list. Basically, this list is all of the collective West. Some countries in Asia, I believe Japan was on that list. I think South Korea was on that list, and some other countries. And the only countries in Europe, in the collective West, in Europe that were not on that list were Hungary and Slovakia, I think, were not on the list of adversary, destructive countries towards Russia. Which is interesting, because if you're a citizen of Hungary, then you can't get a fast track of residency to Russia or Slovakia, right? I don't know. Anyway, that is the update there. And Qatar Airlines, they have announced that they will be banning pagers for flights from Beirut into Qatar. So another airline is banning pagers on airplanes, to be expected. And finally, let's do a quick clown world, and we will wrap up this Saturday video. A bit of rain here in Nicosia. And this clown world is from Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, she said in an interview the other day, she was asked about Kamala Harris and how she's going to support Kamala Harris. And she said she's providing as much support as she can. And then she was asked, would you be open to being part of Kamala Harris's administration? And Clinton basically said, yeah. I mean, she hinted at the fact, sure, if Kamala offers me a position in her administration, absolutely. Could we be seeing another go at Secretary of State Clinton? God help us. God help us. The Guardian has an article, Hillary Clinton. It would be exhilarating to see Kamala Harris achieve the breakthrough I didn't. Oh boy. A clown world or a nightmare world? Hillary Clinton back in the White House. That would mean that the Clinton Foundation would be back in business, right? Because the Clinton Foundation fell apart when Hillary lost the election, like completely fell apart. All the donors, they abandoned the Clinton Foundation. They left. What good is putting money in the Clinton Foundation if you're not president or part of the administration? So you got to imagine if she gets into the Kamala administration, if Kamala were to win in November, then the Clinton Foundation would be back in business. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. Remember these computers? Gateway computers? Gateway computers. That's the video, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like this t-shirt with the Greek flag that I am wearing today in this video. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.